Alright guys, welcome back. So in this video we're actually going to register our users. So let's get started in here. Let's go to our app.js. The first thing I want to do is I want to just create some different routes. I'm going to put this on a more organized way. So in here on our folders that we have on the site, I want to create a folder just completely dedicated for our routes. Do you guys remember when we created these routes for the home page, for the register? Soon there will be so many different routes that if we keep everything in here on the same file, it's going to be difficult to read all of these. So let's just organize our code. I'm going to create a new folder called routes. Okay. And oops, I think I created these wrong. So I'm just going to delete this. I'm going to do a new folder and I'm going to call it routes. Okay. And inside of these routes, so I'm going to create one file called pages.js. Okay. So this file in here is going to just like organize all my codes to create all the routes for all the different pages that I want. So at the moment we only have our home page, which is the /, and we have another page which is the register one. So what do I want to do in here? First of all, I want to import my express. Okay, so const express equals to require express. Okay, then what I'm going to do in here is do a const router. Okay, and this is going to be equals to express dot router. I think it needs to be capital if I'm not wrong. Okay, so const router equals to express dot router, and I'm going to show you now what you can do with this. So in here now you can do router dot get. Okay, and what I want to do in here is go inside of my /. This is going to be the URL for the home page. Now I can do the same thing like before. I can have a request response, and now what I want to do in here, I just want to do a response dot render, and I want to render the index page. Okay, this is exactly what we have on our app.js, but we're going to keep things in here organized. So we got this router for this one, and I'm just going to copy, just put a semicolon in the end. I'm going to do exactly the same thing in here now for my register. Okay, / register. And this time when I go in here to my / register, I want to render what file? I want to render the file inside of the views called register. Finally, don't forget to add these because otherwise your code will not work. I'm going to do a module.exports. So module.exports equals to router. Okay, because we need to make sure that we can export this router that we created and that we are giving in here for our pages. We need to export it. Okay, now that we got our routes all defined in here into this folder, into this file called pages, let's go back into our app.js. Okay, so if I go into my app.js, what I'm going to do now is, instead of having these two things, this is exactly the same thing that we just created on the other file. So I'm going to delete them. I'm going to put in here define routes, like comment if you want to get organized. And now I'm going to do app.use. Okay. And now I'm going to say that whenever I go to the /, okay, I want to require, okay, I want to require my /routes. Okay, remember that we have these /routes because we are writing down this code inside of app.js, and we need to look on the same level of directory. We need to look to this folder called routes, and then we want to go inside of that folder routes and grab the pages.js. Okay. So you can just write pages. You don't need to do pages.js. Okay. So this is what you want to do. So whenever you access the /, it means that you're going to go inside of your routes, inside of your pages, and you're going to check in here all these routes. If you're going to get this one, first of all, you're going to render the home page. If you're going to get this /register, you should show the register page. Okay, let me save this. So let me just refresh the page, make sure that everything is still working. So if I go to the home page, register, everything is still working fine. Okay, there's no problem at all. Okay, now let's go back into our views inside of our register. Actually, we need to create another route. Okay, we need to create another route. But yeah, let's go to our register.hps. So if you guys remember inside of our register.hps, so let me just open it in here as well. So our form that we created, forms always need to have two things. Okay, they need to have an action. Okay, so what is this action? When you fill up all this form and you click this button down here that it says register user, you actually need to submit these values that you put inside of the form. You need to submit them somewhere to some sort of a URL, some route. So this is where you specify it. So the action is where you want to send all of these values. So I want to send all of these values from my form to /auth/register. Okay, this is where I want to send all these values from this form. Okay, and then I need to specify what kind of HTTP method we want to use. Usually when you want to send some values inside of your database, the most common HTTP method used is the post method. Okay, so I'm going to put in here method equals to post. Okay, this is the HTTP method that we are going to use in order to send the values. Okay, so now that we created this, let's create this route in our Node.js, okay, in order to grab all of this data. So if I go first of all into my app.js, remember we got this URL /auth/register. So I'm going to go inside of my app.js and I'm going to do a app.use, okay. Whenever I'm going to some /auth, okay, I'm not going to put the rest because I'm going to create for register, for login, logout. So I'm just going to put in here, whenever we go to a /auth, okay, I want to require some routes, okay. So I'm going to put in here /routes, okay. And if I'm not wrong, I'm going to put in here, I'm going to do auth. Okay, auth. So obviously, like I said, whenever we go on the URL to /auth something else, we're going to require these routes. Okay, routes auth. This file does not exist right now. If we go in here inside of routes, there is no auth.js file. So we will create it now. I'm going to go in here, new file, auth.js. Okay, now there is nothing inside of here. I'm actually going to go into my pages.js. I'm going to copy all of this and I'm going to paste it inside. Okay, so I'm going to paste all of these things in here. And now, okay, if you guys see, let me see, express, required express. I think we got everything. So router, I want to create one that is to, let me just delete all of these. I'm going to do in here a router dot post. Okay, so you only will be able to access this route via post. Okay, when you submit the form, you submit it via a method of post. That's why you need to put in here router dot post, and you want to submit this to auth. Okay, which you already did. Look, app.useAuth, okay? This is redirecting us into routes auth. This is the file. And you want to do in here register, okay? So basically, of course, you don't see in here the rest. This is almost like having in here auth register, okay? Auth because it's coming from the other page, and then we just finish it in here with the / register. Okay, so when we submit this in here, you don't want to render any page for now, okay? You want to actually create a controller that will be able to deal with all the data from the form. So I'm gonna put in here this, okay? So I'm gonna put in here a comma, and after I'm gonna put in here a auth controller dot register. So this auth controller dot register does not exist because we are going to create this auth controller. So I'm going to import it in here on the top first of all. Okay, so I'm going to do a const auth controller is going to be equals to require. And now look, we are writing this code inside of auth.js. So I'm going to create out here a folder called controllers, and then inside there should be some kind of file. Okay, so I'm going to go ... to go one level up. Remember, we are in auth.js, we need to go one level up. I want to go inside of a folder called controllers, which we don't have at the moment. I'm going to create it, and then I'm going to have a file inside called auth. Okay, so let's just create this. Outside of everything, I'm going to create this folder called controllers, and inside of these controllers, I'm going to create one file called auth.js. So now what we need to do in here is, first of all, I'm just going to do in here what? I'm actually just going to create something in here quickly because I think this video is getting too long. So I'm just going to keep it short in here if you guys want to make a pause. So I'm going to do an exports dot register, okay, and this is going to be equals to a request response, something like this. And I don't think that I need to do anything else right now. I just want to do something in here just to see if I can grab the data from the I don't think I need to export anything else. So I'm gonna go do in here console.log of the request.body. So what this request.body is doing is basically grabbing all the data that we sent from the form, and we're gonna log it in here in our terminal. But I also want to show it in our page. So I'm gonna do in here res.json. Okay, I'm gonna do a res.json, and this is just to show on the front end. So I'm gonna put in here actually I'm just gonna put in here res.send after we're gonna do it. So form submitted. Okay, let's just test this out if it's working, and then so I'm gonna go in here, I'm gonna put in here Telmo, and I'm gonna put in here telmo@email.com, and I'm gonna put the password 123456, and I'm gonna press register. Okay, so if you guys can see on the top, I have in here form submitted, which is this, and down here I'm actually not getting what I want. So let's see what's wrong with this. So the problem is you actually need to add two new things in your app.js in order to grab data from the forms. Okay, so after I set up in here my public directory, I'm actually going to set up two things in here. One is going to be the app.use, okay, which is going to be in here express.url encoded, and then you're going to set up extended false. Okay, so I'm actually going to copy this and I'm going to set it in here so you guys can copy if you want. Basically, this line in here is just like parsing URL encoded bodies as sent by HTML forms. Basically, this is just to make sure that you can grab the data from any forms. Then you need to set up another thing in here, which is the app.use, and you're going to set in here express.json. So this, I'm also going to copy some comment that I have in here. So this line is actually making sure that the values that we are grabbing from the form, they come in as JSONs. Okay, so I'm going to save this and I'm going to try to submit my form once again to see if I get the values down here. Okay, so I'm going to put in here the name, telmo@email.com, and I'm going to press 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I'm going to press register. And let me see, let me go up here. So if you guys can see you can see name, which is Telmo, email, telmo@email.com, and the password 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So basically we are grabbing the data from our form right now. So let me show you once again how everything is getting connected. We got down here these routes, okay, app.use / that is requiring the routes. So if you go into routes, we go into pages. We can see that when we go to the / register, we can see in here this form. Okay, now this form, I'm going to go in here into my views, register. We got this form, and look one thing in here, guys. All these inputs, they have a name. Okay, so the name of the name is name, as you guys can see down here on the terminal. Now the email, it has a name of email, just like on the terminal. Look, the same thing. And then the password has a name of password. This is what you can see in here. So when you submit this form, you are submitting this form to auth register via a method of post. So we created this route. Okay, so if you go in here into our auth.js, okay, which you will grab this router.post from register. Okay, if you guys remember, in our app.js we still have this app.use / auth. So whatever starts with / auth, just like in here, look, then we go requiring the routes auth, which is this one. So in here, when we do this router.post to register, we're gonna load this auth controller, which is imported up here, and we're gonna load this function called register. So let's go inside of our controllers, our auth, and we got this register. Look in here again, guys, register. And now I can actually grab, based on this request, the request body. So the request body basically is what's coming from your form. Down here on the terminal, you guys can see this console.log of the request.body. All right, so now we got this from the form. I don't want to continue with this video now because it's just getting too long. So yeah, I'm gonna finish it in here now, and in the next video I'm actually going to show you how you can send it into the database. Alright guys, I'll see you in the next video.